Sam and Ben, Monthly Retro.
Hey, Sam here, and welcome to the first episode of the Ben and Sam Monthly Retro. As the name would suggest, myself and Ben Pollock, who's the head of marketing at Parabola, are going to catch up and have a monthly retrospective of what's gone well and what's gone wrong within Ben's marketing. We're trying to give an honest, behind-the-scenes look at what growth looks like at a Series A company and the inner challenges of a marketing team within it. We've been friends for a while. I was his boss once, and now he's mine as the recline of utter. And we're trying to share the journey and get beyond the bullshit that can exist within marketing land externally. So in today's episode, we cover a few things. To start with, you may want to skip the introduction. We're a little rusty behind the microphone, so there's some small talk that you may not need to hear. But once we get into it, we talk about what went well in 2023 and what are the main focus areas of 24. We talk about positioning, we talk about new websites, how to do an RFP around that, and then how to stand up consistent activities that drive pipeline, a predictable pipeline to put your number on. So give it a listen. And if you have any feedback, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Ben Pollock, we're live. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Sam? How we doing?
Good. Living the dream. Summer here, as we were just talking before. It actually doesn't look too bad today for you in New York now.
Yeah, it's a lovely 40 degrees and sunny. We're psyched. We're psyched that it's not raining or snowing or too freezing. It's really great weather here. It's awesome.
Beautiful. We're like testing my Fahrenheit. I think we'll hit the 80s today. So we're the opposite. High 20s.
For those that don't know, Sam's team is fully remote and global, and that affords him the amazing opportunity and ability to travel, go back home to New Zealand, spend summers in Europe, all while managing his amazing growing business and fantastic team. But I love New York City, baby, the Big Apple. So, you can't compete there, Samuel.
You can't. But chasing summer to summer, I feel like my tan hasn't come on yet. 2 years of no winters, and you're still beating me.
Yeah, I won't hold my breath for that one, buddy.
No, it's just because I'm just a keyboard pro, like different location, sit behind a keyboard in a room.
Sure, yeah.
What okay. So how's the year started?
Year is good. We just wrapped up Jan, and I think for us, what we're really trying to do is like focus our bets. I think it's really hard, especially for leaders, trying to understand like what direction you and your team should go. And for us at Parabola, and I think a lot of the other companies I've been working with and chatting to, like there's a lot of paralysis behind that decision making, and that can lead to like unfocused work and scope. And so for us, like it's just being really focused. What are our North Star goals? What do we believe we need to focus on and prioritize to achieve them? And then chasing those really aggressively and deprioritizing other things in the meantime.
Yeah, you straight into it. That's the focus, Ben.
That's how I rock.
I know. What I guess before we get into some of the Parabola stuff, maybe just background on how we know each other and why we're chatting. So I could give my take, and then maybe you could give your perspective. So we've known each other what?
5-6 years.
5 years now? Yeah, 5-6 years. So Ben came as got put on my radar as a young, aspiring, ambitious marketer who was cracking on. I can't remember the company you were at, but hustling there, managed to convince them to come join Reonomy, and then together we built an amazing inbound engine at Reonomy. A lot of fun times, a lot of tough times, but I think we built a mutual respect there. Then I started consulting, and now the relationship's flipped where Ben gets to be my boss or our company's boss and tell me to do a better job. So we've got this nice dynamic where the power balance has changed, but built along a friendship of hard work, but a lot of fun as well along the way.
Yeah, you nailed it, Sam. And I'll share like one piece of additional context that I would never tell you privately, of course. But Sam for me was a really like influential figure and mentor in my growth as both a professional and a person. I ask a lot of different marketers like how they learn. What do you read? Like how do you upskill yourself? How do you continue to drive forward? For me, the best learning I get is from really engaged mentors who like treat you both as a person and a professional and invest time into you. And before I'd even joined Parabola, Sam was helping me on some AdWords campaigns at my prior company. Before I joined Reonomy. And, really grateful for that like relationship as we've grown. And now obviously as friends, and I'm your client, so I get to be your boss, which is super fun. Love bossing you around. But just like advice for those out there would be like find mentors that you believe in who also believe in you and like learn from them because they've likely been there before, and that's a great way to like increase your skill set and your knowledge quickly.
For sure. Well, thanks for the kind words. You're an easy mentee, and now I think I learn just as much. I definitely learn as much as off you as maybe I'm sharing. So, and I think that's like the format of what we'll do in these chats. It's like we'll catch up monthly. We'll look back at like how things have been going and make a judgment on like my advice, your take, and try and mimic the conversations that we've had before. And I think to maybe like just give a little more context of where we are now. So Ben, do you want to just explain like your current job title, Parabola as a company, before we go into the marketing team and just that high level?
Yeah, for sure. And so I'm the head of marketing at Parabola. We raised our Series B last June. We're about 45 employees. Depending on when this podcast will be published, it might be more. And so growing quickly. We're currently going through a bit of a repositioning and rebrand project. So how I describe Parabola right now will be very different from how I describe Parabola on a future episode. In short, Parabola empowers folks without technical skills. We call them operators, to automate manual parts and processes within their job and ultimately like gain leverage internally in a way that they were never able to before. So just as an analogy, engineers deploy code. There's a lot of tools that support them in their abilities to document, build process, and scale that code base. Operators are still working on napkins. And while I'm joking, it's not untrue. And so our tool, using AI and some other really neat features, allows folks to do really complex analyses and data-centric manual workflows, but automate them and ultimately both move themselves and their org forward. Cool. On the side, I've also been an expert in residence doing go-to-market stuff for First Round for almost 2 years, which has been really, really great experience for me and exposure. And just from 0 to 1, how does a company begin going to market? What does that process even look like? And how do you think about scale over the next 12 to 24 years? And so really appreciative for that opportunity too.
Thanks, Ben, for giving your quick spiel there. To give mine, so I started and run a company called Utter, not like cow. Utter is the New Zealand accent, makes it sound, but Utter is an up and to the right. All startups want to go up and to the right. We help B2B tech, B2B SaaS companies drive more pipeline from paid marketing as the core Utter business. And then we've got some sub-brands that we've launched out, one of them being Revise, which is more revenue operations based at this point. I just chat to founders, marketers within that are in the trenches and give my advice and help my team helps execute on their problems there. So seeing a lot across B2B SaaS and whatever it's experienced in marketing and looking forward to probably sharing some of that context as I dig into it with Ben today. But that's the intros, the shit talking aside. Why don't we get into actually what's been going on? Ben, do you want to maybe summarize? I know before you chatted about where you're at this year so far, but do you want to summarize where you ended up, like the end of December last year? And for all those that knew, I think, Ben, you started Parabola, when did you join? July?
Yeah. June. Yeah. For sure. So happy to give like a little recap there. Scaling businesses is really hard. It's really challenging. And what we try to do is really dumb it down. We call it internally, do the easy thing, right? Do the dumb thing. And for us, and for most businesses, it's create more qualified intro meetings, convert them at a higher rate, and renew or upsell them at as high of a rate as you can. So really focus on those as like 3 core metrics: build top of funnel, convert them into customers, and ultimately make them your evangelists and have the orgs renew and upsell and all that jazz. For us, I think it was a beginning of like a breakout for us. And so Parabola raised their Series B in June from OpenView. And I think that's for us, like when we've started to put the foot on the gas from like our go-to-market and our team building and really just how quickly we're trying to grow. Parabola sells horizontally. Like it's applicable in a lot of ways. I think someone on our team runs like a fantasy football analysis through Parabola. And so that's both an opportunity and a challenge. And so I think this year, just speaking back to focus, we really focused our go-to-market efforts. Even chatting with a couple friends from Airtable and Monday who have segmented offerings for different verticals or industries as a horizontally applicable tool. My question is like, where do you start? How do you get moving? And their answers were very similar, one at a time with focus. And I think that focus is really starting to elevate us as a business. So what we have found is that while Parabola is horizontally applicable, the organizations that it's most beneficial for are ones that have highly complex but repetitive manual workflows, often based in emails or PDFs or Excel. And the industries that we found to be most needing this type of solution move physical products. Like that is where we've slowly but surely accumulated the strongest customer base. We have some really amazing customers like Flexport, Harry's, Juice Press, Sonos, and a few other really nice logos that I am not allowed to name. All of them involve the movement of physical goods. And for the most part, the teams that we sell into are the folks that are handling that process: supply chain, logistics, operations, inventory, freight, etc. So our progression this year, at least from when I've joined, was really about building out that focus and then aligning every team across the org that this is our focus. If these are our key industries, what are the jobs to be done? Who are the key personas we want to be selling into? What resonates with them? Who are they as people? What tools do they use? How do we reach them? All these questions. My really strong belief is that if you can nail that foundational understanding, product marketing, then the go-to-market is so much more seamless from there. And I think we've really started to shine in that, like, we understand our ICP, we speak their language. Internally, we call this customer centricity. And now we're starting to deploy more repeatable go-to-market motions on top of that. That does two things that are super beneficial. One, grows pipeline. But two, it elevates our rate of learning so that every time we book another meeting with someone that we believe to be ICP aligned, win or lose, we're learning a lot through that process. And so I think our rate of growth, our rate of learning has really started to grow, particularly in the past 3 to 6 months, off of a lot of that focus.
Right. So if I had to recap that, you joined in June, you've been around about 6 months, probably got a lot of things like, there was no marketing. Was there any marketers before?
There was a marketer for a short time, yeah.
There was a brick marketer, but really
not
building
a
out.
ton. Yeah.
Right. You're sort of working with a blank slate, a clean slate, so to speak. And then you're getting some things stood up, across. I know you tried some paid, etc. And now from those learnings, it's sort of, okay, time to really narrow focus. And this year's like build on that focus, if that captures that.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing to add is, like, I was just reminiscing on my 30, 60, 90 that I had presented to the Parabola executive team before joining. It was so unfocused. And I actually remember one of my peers asking me, like, this is a lot. How do you intend to accomplish this? And I was like, I'll figure it out. I would present that so much differently. I might reference the things I'm thinking about, but actively not pursuing. Like, it's important to understand, like, or to demonstrate your understanding of the domain. This is a possible avenue, but it's not something I would touch in 90 days. And I kind of just like listed everything, so do it all. And we didn't try to do it all. And there's absolutely something to be said for, like, you need to test different channels, tactics, ICPs. And like that, a lot of the time, is the route to focus. And I don't know if I would do a ton differently. Like, I still think the path that we chose led us to this point. That said, I probably would have tried fewer things and done them better. Like, I think that is the core reflection for me. And that's really what I'm trying to embody for both myself and my team going into 2024.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Even like, that's from an evolution on the consulting side, the amount of things we do have just narrowed over time, because I'd rather do one thing extremely well there and hit that well. And I think it's easy if you're scrolling LinkedIn all day and people throwing out, do this, do that. But reality is there's like a few growth drivers that you need to hit that really make that impact.
Yeah, totally. On the consulting piece too, we did an awesome engagement at Parabola before our Series B to update our homepage positioning and messaging and ultimately redo it. with a company called Fletch.
Yeah.
Rob and Anthony, two guys. That's all they do. Homepage messaging. It's their niche. They crush it. They have a system for it. It's amazing. They could do product marketing as a whole. That's a huge scope. They nailed their niche. They do it really well. They know their focus. And I think it puts them in a really good position to succeed with their clients.
Agree.
As does Utter, of course, Sam.
It's been a longer learning curve for me. I think I call it there's products and services, and then there's productized services, and trying to get that journey across. But it's a slog there. But you still see the same. I think, well, especially now, more and more startups where the only advantage I'm going to have is if I niche down and specialize. How am I going to cut through the noise? I think it's really tough. Well, I'm interested to pick your brain on, because you've come to this conclusion around people that work with physical goods, but you've had a decent amount of data there. On the flip side, you see some early stage companies, I'm talking like seed, where they're trying to test with us and they're trying to work out where to do, but it's like you can't really get enough signal. At some point, you just have to roll up your socks and just pick and go after. It's like, at what point do you have that conviction? I mean, was it pretty straightforward, do you think, for you once you start looking into the physical goods?
It's a really good question. No, it was not straightforward. And we had data. So I totally understand and validate that feeling of early stage founders, many of whom I work with. And I see and feel that. And many of those folks want to start doing go to market and pouring fuel on the fire. And my response to them is you're not focused enough to build repeatable motions. You don't understand your ICP. For us, it started with looking at who are our customers today, right? And we have dozens of what we call advanced customers. We also have individual users, but companies that buy Parabola. And when looking at that, over 50, 60% were brands, Harry's, Vuori, L'Oreal, etc. The other 25% was freight and logistics companies, NFI, Uber Freight, Flexport. And then there's the hodgepodge, which causes more chaos in our minds, software, services, some other bespoke industries, etc. So first, it's just look at what's already working, lean into it. Interestingly, the first focused approach we took towards, let's just say retail e-com or direct to consumers, it wasn't the right approach, even though it was the right vertical. So we were are there nuances in supply chain or inventory challenges based on your sub industry, whether you're doing apparel or perishable goods? And while there certainly are, that segmented approach didn't totally work for us. And then we were well, what if we segment based on company size? The technological challenges are different at each stage. Before 100 employees, you're probably pre-ERP and you're doing manual process one way. And then in the mid-market, you're probably in that implementation phase. You're having more of your employees specialize. So you have an inventory team, you have a transportation team, and there's different jobs to be done. We would sell to them totally differently. Our messaging is different. And so first stab, didn't totally nail it. Second stab, started to see some progress. And we basically abandoned all the other stuff we were trying to do across other ICPs for the most part, from at least a new business perspective. And then you start to just try and listen and see signal as much as you can. And you're not going to get it wake up one day and be there's signal. It's a very slow process. It's okay, of the monthly cohort, if we created all of these ops in October, how strong does that cohort convert over time? And what are the leading indicators before closed one, stage 3, stage 4, that you can start to measure to answer the question, are more ops in these verticals getting to stage 3? Are we seeing them progress through the funnel at a healthier rate? And our immediate answer there was yes. So that gave us a lot more boost along the way. I guess long answer short, you never are going to have super 100% clear signal. But it's really important that as you go along your journey, you're able to measure signal from a proxy measurement perspective, and not just waiting to see how many new customers you close.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a good take. And I think if people try and come up with a whole lot of different ways of measuring this, early stage, it's I want to serve ads to these different audiences, and whatever has a higher CTR rate, etc., I'm going to engage with them more. But I think to your take, having conversations, getting people in pipeline, and combining a bit of data with gut is lets you make that jump. So positioning, focus, and I guess positioning is the number one priority for you at the moment. So we're talking about problem. So identify the problem. Sort of who you want to go after. In terms of how you roll that out now, what's involved there? Because you talked to me a bit about that. You're going to do like a new positioning, new website, the whole shebang. Give me a little bit of context.
For sure. And so like if our main objective is to drastically improve our positioning and messaging, the first step there is like building out internal resource for like who is our ICP, what are the jobs to be done, can we align on this, can we validate this with gong calls, can we validate this with data in our CRM. So that's something I think we're well on the way and close to like finishing an initial like really strong alignment there. We've made a lot of what's that? Yeah, that's in-house. So we have a product marketer internally. My team right now, we have a product marketer, we have a growth marketer, content starting soon, and then other on the fractional RevOps side. So our internal product marketer started a few months after me and dove right in, codifying gong calls, doing ICP research, talking to our AEs and our reps and our tenured employees, and like taking that information, collating it and solidifying it in a 40-slide guide that's like documenting our personas and all of the centralized information about them that's relevant. That's great. That's internal, right? Like that's for our team to use and for us to leverage as we like go to market with our activities. So like the next question is, how does that begin to activate in market? Parabola's made a lot of updates to the website over time, to positioning and messaging over time. But in the same vein of like, if you're going to do it really well and go all in and focus on it. We've decided to give our positioning, our messaging, our branding, our website a much broader and larger focus this quarter. And so that's a big project for us. I don't want to give away too many deets there, but we are investing a lot of time and resource into drastically improving that and then ultimately making a bang when it's ready to go live and share with the world.
And so and when you think about like what to include, like how big to go, I think that's like, I want to pick your brain on that because I have conversations with people and they're like, okay, I'll just update the copy on the site. And then other folks are like, actually, I need to do brand. If I'm going to bother to do this, I may as well bring like, a brand redesign in and tidy up the website. I almost think of it in like four, parts. It's like the positioning, it's the copy on the site, it's the brand design, and then it's rolling that out into your website and assets. Like it sounds like you're doing all four, right? And what made you decide you need all four?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Iterative changes will compound over time and help you for sure. Make small changes, small improvements day over day, and 100 days later, you're going to have a completely new outcome. That said, that can be slow, that can be laborious, and it ultimately like won't get you to where you need to be faster. So once we do this like big project and complete it, like, yeah, we'll still tinker with the homepage. Like we'll make those edits. All I know is that deep in my core, if we change some of those elements you described, I don't think it would drive enough net new change. It's not like step function enough. It's not drastic enough. How do I know that? Well, I listen to prospects when they come in and they're like, I read your website. I'm not really sure what you do or whether it's for me. And they're our ICP, square on. And then I hear how our reps talk about it or how our investors talk about Parabola or even our customer evangelists. And that description is varied. It's frayed, doesn't always hit, rarely does. So there's so many different like proof points and avenues where I'm like, ooh. And ultimately the story in my head is like all of these things connect, to your point. And the best way to update all of them drastically in a cohesive way is doing them together as one project. If we only did positioning and messaging, didn't touch design, they probably wouldn't feel aligned. Like what if our positioning is totally different from some of our like iconography? Like that actually wouldn't really make sense. And so ultimately, I think it was like a gut feeling driven by a lot of different proof points, always having my head on a swivel and trying to hear and see what friction our prospects or customers are having.
Was it tough to sell internally? I feel like that's the second part marketers Like when you want to, it's a decent investment you're going to do here.
It is. It is. It's a big investment. I'm psyched to say no, not at all. Matter of fact, I was the one that was like, I really want to make sure this is a sound investment. I'm ultimately like, I'm responsible for my org's burn. I want to, and a few folks in my org, including AY, our CEO and founder, was like, let's really do this thing. Like we've identified this as a problem that we need to solve. This is a big gap. We need to move with speed, but also be thoughtful. Let's do it. And he actually was the one that encouraged me to move it forward and take the leap and build the RFP and go forward. And so for me, no, it was not, because I have a CEO founder boss who totally gets marketing. For other orgs and other marketing leaders, absolutely. Validating like the resource investment in positioning or brand or messaging can very much be a battle. It's like, well, what's the ROI in this campaign? So I think that type of messaging normally needs to be quite finessed and given, painted as a picture in a story versus like, this is a project that's going to generate ROI, because it will never be looked at that way.
Yeah, it's actually it's my number one interview question I ask like senior candidates is, how would you pitch this in? And I think the only you do see some ROI in terms of like conversion lift and like funnel velocity, because there's that clarity before and after, but it's not to directly associate it is tough. But I think it's one of those things, if you've been around a few different companies, when you see it nailed, you see how everything moves quicker through the funnel.
And so I remember from our Reonomy days, we were doing a lot of paid, and that's a big part of the inbound engine. And I remember you saying like something around brand, like if you can nail brand, then like you're good, right? And I think, is this a big investment? Yes. Look, my job is to set the org up for success in the next 24 to 36 months. We just raised a round. So like, rather than operating on a website that's not clear, that we don't feel is just awesome, it's your number one asset. It's your number one thing that like as a business, you send prospects to, customers read, you drive conversion. It's the top of your funnel. This is an investment that's going to set us up for success for the next 2 to 36 months. And then I'll probably want to do it again. But it's so worthwhile. And if you just look at the revenue growth we're trying to attain, then that resource investment doesn't look so scary. Then it's like, well, that actually totally makes sense given the growth we're projecting and trying to achieve.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I want to chat on some other topics, but just to wrap this part up, how are you going about, so you're doing RFP, like what's your learnings been about going to, like how you've approached it?
Yeah. Not my first RFP rodeo. So I'm thankful to lean on some like past experiences. I have like a template for an RFP that I use for this type of project. I've done a couple like rebrands, repositionings before. And so I use that to get a baseline. Your RFP is worthless if you don't send them to good agencies. So my process was like immediately, I've worked with 6 agencies, put feelers out to friends, to network. You recommended a few. I had other folks recommend a few. I had a list of 36 agencies. Looked at them one by one. Ultimately submitted the RFP to like half of them. Got responses. Some were way too expensive. Some didn't do that type of scope. Got down to 8. Spoke with all of them. Had other folks on the stakeholders in the team looped in. Got it down to 3 finalists. Had one more like big engagement on that, and ultimately picked an amazing partner.
Nice. And
that was a 10, 14 day period.
Okay, was that
really? Yeah, it's really
what and how you scope that as like a full brand design, like brand refresh, redesign to website design development.
Yeah, ultimately the agency is going to take your RFP and put it into like their system, right? So like some folks might loop in tone of voice and design to like brand, right? But that's the way you described it was pretty much exactly how I'd outlined it. It's like 1, core positioning. 2 is like, what is the messaging and the story that comes off of that? 3 is the brand design. What are the actual design elements? And 4, how does that all come together in a cohesive website and other assets, but website being the main one.
Nice. And how, and when you're today, it's Feb 1, Feb 2 for me. When would you expect all to be done? No, when would you expect everything to be live?
April.
End of April, probably. Right.
Yeah. And that's fast. I had a friend laugh at me, be like, ha ha ha, I can't believe you're doing this in less than 6 months. I'm like, I know. But look, we have a few top goals as an organization. One of those top goals is to significantly up-level our positioning, messaging, and branding. So everyone is bought in. This is one of our top priorities, and like folks recognize that, and so everyone's willing to drop what they're doing and focus on this for tight feedback cycles and quick reviews, so that we can keep the timeline as brief as possible.
Nice. Yeah, I think 3 months is like a real, like, challenging but doable type. Any for a startup, larger companies, like no chance of touching.
Yeah, too many stakeholders. Luckily, we're was actually just chatting with Pat Rafferty, one of our old colleagues and friends this morning, and I was telling him about our employee size. It's 45. He's like, that's really fun size. Like, you have a significant team and like you have some specialization, but it's also agile and it's fun. And so I really am enjoying where we're at. It's an amazing group here at Parabola. We're hiring, but really, really thankful for the team, their agility, but also like their opinions and their passion.
Nice. Yeah. Pat will probably be telling you it's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
But in terms of enjoyment, I'm kidding. So number one, biggest problem or focus is positioning. If you had to put like the next, we chatted recently, would you say funnel velocity would be the second priority focus?
I think funnel at a high level, not just velocity, but also like building top of funnel.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be on the hockey stick. I know everyone wants to be up and to the right, but everyone wants to be on the hockey stick growth. So it's like, all right, what do you need to drive hockey stick growth? You need virality. That'd be cool. That's a hope. What's repeatable? What's consistent? Outbound engines, paid campaigns, SEO content, thought leadership. So these are all motions that we're standing up, focused, and trying to make them as repeatable as possible and as good as possible, so that when we're ready to scale those machines, those campaigns, they're small, but they're mighty and they're ready to be revved. The analogy we use internally is like, let's just say you want to build a Formula One car, and you want to build like a prototype so that you can't build that car overnight. You can build two types of prototypes. You could build a go-kart that you have to pedal on. And like, if you want to be a Formula One car that has handling and that's fast, like you have to pedal really hard. Doesn't sound ideal. Or you could build a little mini go-kart. It's not big, but it rips, goes really fast. And boy, does it handle. Well, that's a clearer route to scale. You have a prototyped engine. Just put more fuel in and make it 5 times bigger. That's what's going to scale. So that's what we're trying to build on like the go-to-market side, is like, what are those repeatable campaigns that are efficient, those repeatable content development and distribution methods that are efficient. And so as we build team, as we figure out positioning, all of that is funneled into like these repeatable campaigns that we're building. And so on the growth side, that's a large part of our focus this quarter, is like starting to develop those repeatable motions, making sure that internally we're facilitating those leads to the funnel, tracking them in pipeline, and then to your point, funnel velocity, getting them to close won deals as quickly and at a high rate as possible.
And so when you're thinking of these net new initiatives that you're trying to stand up, like at the start, are you measuring the effectiveness of it based on like top of funnel, like FQL? Like obviously there's a delay until pipeline. Like, so is your primary focus when you think like, I got to improve the funnel, you're like, I got to get some people knocking on the door first? Is that where you're at?
Yeah, totally depends on the channel. And I'll give you a few examples. Thought leadership. Our CEO, AY, has been posting 1 to 2 LinkedIn posts a week. I believe in that as a channel that you invest in early, you keep it authentic, you keep it close to the customer, and that will reap benefits over time. We've driven a couple folks from that. We had a VP at a name brand, VP of Ops at a name brand company be like, hey, I saw AY post, I want to chat.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting any intro meetings to come from that in the next 3 to 6 months. So how do you measure growth? Well, what does engagement look like? What are his followers? Like, how many comments per post on average over time? What does that look like from a rolling perspective? Tough to measure, right? But like what? And so what we did is we deployed 30 posts for him. We took the median of the first 15 and the median of the next 15. It's going up. Not every post is a winner, we're getting more and more engagement, and we believe in that channel. And so we have enough signal there to continue to invest, even though we're not driving crazy pipe off of it.
Right.
Second example would be SEO, huge latency. What am I looking for there? In 3 months, have we begun to rank for our target keywords? In 6 months, have we gotten to the first or second page of Google, top 20 SERP? Again, don't expect that to drive pipeline. Now, in 12 months from article publish, okay, it's not ranking. We don't see much traffic, nevertheless, inbound from it. Let's reevaluate. So it's really hard to get like true funnel-based signal for some of those types of initiatives. Flip side, paid, at least early. Paid, much easier to get some immediate signal. As an example, like we're running LinkedIn campaigns. We're running 5 of them. 3 of them in the first 2 weeks live drove 4 leads, and a few of those have even gotten to meetings. 2 of them drove 0 or 1 leads, and even the one they drove did not get to meeting. And so, yeah, I'm definitely looking at like, are you driving ICP qualified intent leads? Ideally, those progress through the funnel. And so it's totally fair to measure like MQL or even higher up the funnel as a proxy. But when I speak to the company's goals and to where marketing fits in, those are all part of the puzzle. I'm never like, yeah, we reached our goal. We ranked for 20 keywords, right? That's all a leading metric or a measure that will ultimately drive those intro meetings or that inbound acquisition.
Yeah. So how are you balancing? I mean, paid performance is, it's obviously more short term. It seems like a lot of what you're doing there versus like investing in long term. Like how much of this whole funnel piece, how much are you like, shit, I got to hit my Q1 target. These are the things that are going to get me there versus like building for future.
Yeah. The way I would answer that broadly for anyone is it depends on the context of your business and your goals. There were times at prior jobs where I was on the hook for a really steep inbound number every month, and we had to shoot for short wins because we needed to grow the business and we didn't have the flexibility to invest in longer term programs. But I'll tell you what, it's going to bite you in the ass almost every time.
Yep.
Sam, even some of the paid stuff at Reonomy, if I were to redo my time at Reonomy, I would have tried to like invest some of our resource into like campaigns that would compound over time and not just paid, because I think we were like, we were chasing a lot of that. Like we have 20 reps now. We need to fill top of funnel because we have a 100% inbound driven engine. And that was like, it was challenging at times. So your question is like, how do I balance that? Every initiative that we're running on like the go-to-market campaign driven side, it has a very clear objective. Some of the objectives are, this is a short-term, this might be repeatable and be bigger in the future, but we expect this to drive 10 intro meetings this month. Short-term expectation, paid. Other initiatives are medium-term investments. Yeah, we're going to do like a webinar with a partner, or like we're going to do, some type of like broader campaign or a content distribution play. So that's like probably not going to get us leads next week. But when we deploy it in 6 weeks, and when we have the follow-on pieces 8 weeks later, that should be some medium-term lift. And then there's long-term, right? Like SEO, some of the thought leadership stuff is all long-term growth in mind. So depending on your business and your goals and where you're at, you'd index differently on those. It's all about like being clear and honest to both yourself and the company on like what those are going to drive. For us, that's what we need right now. We need a mix of all 3. We need to drive some pipe this quarter, but we also really need to be investing in the future growth of the business. And I think our team is doing a good job keeping our eyes on the prize for like, this is our Q1 goal, but also knowing like this is our Q3 goal. And if we're going to hit that, we can't focus 100% on short-term efforts in Q1.
Yeah. I think I've come full circle, and I agree. The Reonomy days were like chasing the tail, and it's kind of amazing how well we could, keep grabbing them.
Turns out there's 100,000 inbound queries for multifamily ownership data. It was a prop tech company.
How do you get 100,000 people to sign up for a commercial real estate product? It's sort of beyond me.
You write great SEO content and you bid aggressively.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a search and data product can lean itself to search pretty heavily. But no, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Go on.
I was just gonna say that's also a great point. Is like that business had data. That it was a data business, right? And so for them,
Ben's got excited. He's lost his mic.
yeah, I haven't lost my mic, although I did just kick my phone over.
Oh,
Some businesses pay does not work at all, and immediate levers are non-existent, especially if you sell up market. And so again, it's all about the context of the business. Sorry, I won't kick over any more of my devices here.
I think I lost. Yeah, you're back. I think you kicked something.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
Sorry, I picked up your last point. No, you picked up your last point. Business is lean. It sort of depends on how much demand there is existing for it. And my point was going to say I've come full circle, which is now it's like we just won't take on clients that are like, I need to hit these targets in a short term because it's like it can be doable, but it's tough, and you probably won't keep us long term. In the stat that just sticks with me now and orientates all of my thinking in B2B marketing is 93% of B2B buyers will only purchase from someone that's on their day one consideration list. So when they're ready to buy, if they don't know who you are, they probably aren't going to buy. And so everything I'm thinking about now is like it's you compete aggressively for the the 7% and the people in market, but it's like how do you be top of the awareness list, of the consideration list when someone is ready to buy? And that's how you nail targets in future quarters. But most people can't do that because they're just stuck. How do I fix this quarter because of the pressure that comes with raising capital and hitting those targets?
Totally, and I'll tell you that how I think about that in the context of Parabola. Parabola doesn't have a super defined category. We have overlap with a lot of different tools. So like if someone's ready to go buy their BI tool, they're going to look at Looker and Tableau, right? And like that's what they do, Power BI if they're feeling crazy. Just as an example, right? Like we're not in that consideration. It's not what we are. It's not what we do. So how does that shift our go-to-market strategy because we don't have a clear category? Well, we probably have to invest more in creating demand and talking about the why, right? I think like we're not creating a category like bar none straight out. So I don't think it requires like the really significant educational investment, but it is a big piece of our go-to-market motion. And creating demand, demonstrating the why is not a short-term play to any extent, right? And so I think totally hear you on that point too. And it's something that we're actively thinking about.
Nice. Okay, I think we covered the big two rocks today: positioning, which comes into design, web, the funnel related stuff. We went a bit longer on those two than I thought we could, but plenty to chat on. Any other like major things that are top of mind for you before we wrap up, like that are on your focus?
Yeah, I think ultimately what I have learned is like going from senior IC a few jobs ago to starting to build an org and now running an org. It should have been present and clear to me from the beginning, but it's never been more clear. You will only go as far as your team will take you.
Right.
Early on in my Parabola days, I was showing Kyle Poyer from OpenView some of my OKRs and like what I was planning to do. And he was like, "This looks great. Like, I have one huge call out. Why isn't hiring number one for you?" I was like, I got stuff to do. Right? And he's like, "Trust me." And that was a really impactful statement for me to hear. When I knew that, to hear it from him with such gravity really resonated with me. And so I'm so thankful and appreciative for the amazing folks on my team and the great work they're doing. And that's like a big part of how we will continue to think is like, can we enable top to bottom in our org, everyone with the clarity on what their goal is, what they need to do to go and reach it, and ultimately like make sure that we're all aligned in that journey. So that is the other huge focus for us as well.
Got it. So it's are those to tie it full loop? Are those the 3 OKRs you've got? So it's now I look at what you sent me. It's the positioning brands number 1, the drive inbound meetings. So that's like the funnel we talked about, and then this third one. Okay.
Third one's built for scale, and I think it's definitely like lumped in. It's definitely like not the best OKR, but it's like, can you build revenue systems and team scale. And I think we're really, really nicely on the path to succeed there.
Is that one where you're like, shit, I got one more objective and I got to fit these two?
Yeah, I just kind of these are both things scaling. And I was talking to an OKR coach, just getting his thoughts on some of my structure. And he's like, "This feels like 2," and I was like, "You caught me. It is. Maybe I should have just done 4." Anyway, that's summing it up. And we're agile. These are our plans for now. They change, and we're willing to always iterate as we go as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're at the 45-minute mark. Why don't we call it there? First episode in the books. Got a little rust out of the way early on. Work on our chat. But we got into the good stuff, and I look forward to 2, where we can reflect and see how the positioning's going, funnel, etc. It's going to be fun to build and chat and see and hold ourselves accountable. But thank you, young Ben, as always.
Thanks for having me on. I'm psyched to keep doing this with you, Sam, and tune in for more episodes in 1 month.
There you go. Thanks all.